So a new study links drinking alcohol to the risk of dementia. Alcohol and dementia. Sounds familiar.
She's now the political equivalent of marginal royalty from a forgotten European country, smugly entitled, but no one cares. Her crimes: 1, she mistook the cause of terror, blaming Benghazi on a video, seeking a scapegoat instead of assuming responsibility.
Imagine this. Greg Gutfeld, the guy who treats politics like his own late-night comedy stage, just delivered an absolutely brutal takedown of Hillary Clinton. And this wasn't light-hearted poking. It was a full-blown wrecking ball performance that could make even Miley's look tame. What started as a simple jab escalated into a scorching roast, hotter than a summer barbecue gone off the rails. The internet is going nuts. Clips are spreading faster than fireworks on the 4th of July. And it's easy to see why. Buckle up, this meltdown isn't just funny. It's a full-scale comedic explosion taking over every corner of the web.
Recreate a world that never was, dominated by, let's say it, white men of a certain persuasion, a certain religion, a certain point of view, a certain ideology. It's just doing such damage to what we should be aiming for.
What? Isn't she charming? No wonder Bill spends most of his days perched in a tree outside the local Hooters.
Before we go any further, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Greg Gutfeld didn't just roast Hillary Clinton. He took her entire political legacy, shoved it in a microwave, hit the popcorn button, and watched it explode in glorious slow motion. And the wild part? He didn't even blink. It was like watching a cat casually knock a vase off a shelf. Only this time, the vase was Hillary's reputation, and the crash echoed across the internet like a thunderous burst of laughter.
Porn star's lip.
Ew.
Complaining on X about Trump cleaning up D.C., she says, quote, on one hand, Republican officials call themselves war fighters. On the other, they become whiny crybabies at the thought of setting foot in D.C.'s streets and New York City subways that literal school children navigate every day without incident. Real macho stuff. Then she got off social media and returned to moving a dead body to a park.
Let's be honest. Hillary Clinton spent years crafting a brand she believed was unbreakable. The political equivalent of stainless steel. Nothing sticks, nothing dents, nothing shatters. At least, that's what she told herself. She waltzed back into the spotlight with that familiar confidence, certain she was still beyond reach. But then Greg Gutfeld stepped in, armed with sarcasm sharp enough to strip paint off a car. And suddenly, the once mighty Clinton machine started to resemble an old, rattling blender, held together by duct tape, nostalgia, and a whole lot of wishful thinking.
Might be, in my opinion, the worst thing she's ever said, because we know New York City subways. Kids don't take the subway.
Yeah.
I mean,
and if you do, you're like, whose kid is that?
Yeah, there are men on there who set fire to women, but she's pretending that the people that are trying to reduce crime, that are doing it for themselves, because she's only used to doing things for herself.
The funniest part about this post for me was the fact that she disabled comments on it. What? You wouldn't want to have to see any.
This wasn't a soft jab. Not even close. It wasn't one of those polite, staged debates where everyone smiles and pretends they are on the same page. This was a full-on comedic airstrike, and every punchline hit with the accuracy and force of years' worth of pent-up ammunition. When Greg launched his jokes, they cracked like lightning. Hillary looked stunned, like someone trying to reboot Windows 95 while the rest of the world is cruising on high-speed fiber. Her reaction was exactly what everyone expected. Under pressure, she doesn't pivot, she doubles down. She keeps trying to sell the same old routine like a used car that smells faintly of disappointment. Instead of brushing it off, she clung to her unshakable queen persona, convinced her crown was still gleaming. But here's the twist, it had already slipped off.
Argument, I don't even know if that's a word. Is it?
It is now.
It is. She takes a real issue, which is crime affecting the citizens of D.C., and makes it about these war fighters being whiny crybabies, like it's big, whiny men.
Yeah, because they want the streets safe for not just them.
Yes.
The children, and not just that, the children who are jacking and robbing.
Greg Gutfeld made sure that any remaining shine didn't survive. He buffed Hillary's image with layers of sarcasm until it looked like a flimsy stage prop, glossy, hollow, and painfully awkward under the spotlight. Watching her squirm under comedic fire was nothing like seeing her face political pressure. In politics, she can spin, pivot, and fire off a quick "but what about them?" faster than a magician yanking scarves from a hat. But in Greg's comedic arena, she was a deer on ice, slipping, sliding, and scrambling for balance while he nudged her back down with each punchline. The crowd couldn't get enough. This wasn't just a roast, it was the unraveling of her whole act, the long-cultivated illusion of control and inevitability. Greg tore it apart piece by piece, revealing that her supposed power was more theater than truth, a political stage play with Hillary frantically pressing buttons behind a curtain everyone can now see straight through.
It's women, casually disposable. In this age when there's no monopoly on mayhem, we need careful, not careless. 3, she put personal privacy before public security. The way Bill used the Secret Service, she used the Secret Server, both to create a wall between prying eyes. So, no surprise, in a new poll, when Americans are asked what word best describes her, they scream liar, followed by dishonest, then untrustworthy. I think I notice a trend. To Americans, she's less dependable than your cable guy. Meanwhile, as she implodes, Biden basks, a white knight with whitened teeth. But as nice as Joe is, it reveals the...
What made the whole thing even funnier was how effortlessly calm Greg stayed throughout the takedown. For him, this wasn't work. It was pure entertainment. You could practically see him treating the whole moment like batting practice, sending one-liners soaring out of the park while Hillary flailed like a rookie pitcher watching every swing become a home run. Each joke carried a simple message. The Clinton era isn't just fading. It's become the punchline of its own story. And there was something oddly satisfying about someone finally saying what people have been thinking for years. Hillary's been in the spotlight so long that she's morphed into her own parody, polished lines, rigid posture, and answers that circle everything except the actual point. None of that helped when Greg's jokes hit harder than her entire campaign trail ever did. And the more she tried to hold herself together, the funnier it became, because nothing screams "I'm losing" louder than pretending you're fine while the audience can't stop laughing at your expense.
Hillary Clinton told folks in Pennsylvania that she's ready to come out of the woods. So is this the comeback that America wants? You know, we love it when great bands get back together, but not Limp Bizkit, not Hoobastank. Hillary announcing return, it's like the bird flu announcing a return of the bird flu. Or McDonald's relaunching the Arch Deluxe, or MSNBC bringing back Brian Williams. Really? We're living in a reverse episode of In Search Of, where the...
And this wasn't just about Hillary's past. It was a glimpse into her fading future, too. Greg cast her as the ghost of political failure, lingering in the present with worn-out ideas and a persona that refuses to retire. The image of Hillary clawing for relevance morphed into pure comedic gold. Somewhere along the way, she stopped being a political icon and turned into a recurring cameo, like that TV character who keeps appearing long after their storyline has ended. What sealed the moment was how effortlessly Greg turned her into the punchline of a joke she didn't even realize she was part of. She wasn't debating, defending, or sparring. She was simply standing there while Greg turned her into a prop in his comedy routine. And that kind of humiliation hits harder because it's wrapped in laughter. You can argue with critics, but you can't argue with a crowd laughing at you. The internet erupted. Memes exploded. And Hillary wasn't trending for speeches or politics. She was trending because Greg Gutfeld delivered a public takedown that no amount of PR spin could clean up. Roasted, wrecked, dismantled. Take your pick. Every word fits.
way. She's the Yeti who wouldn't leave. Well, unless, of course, she's running for office. Then she disappears. But she announced she's back in Lackawanna, Pennsylvania. True, she did beat Trump there, but he won the entire state. And she lost it because she was MIA. She thought she had it in the bag. So now she says, hey, you'll be seeing a whole lot more of me. That's the worst thing a loser can say. It's like Rachel Maddow holding up a wad of old government forms she found in a dumpster behind Trump Tower and saying, hey.
The irony couldn't be sharper. Hillary Clinton has spent decades trying to shape every headline, polishing her image into one of control, poise, and political authority. But the moment Greg stepped onto the stage, that sense of control dissolved. He didn't simply poke fun. He flipped the script in real time, turning the longtime political heavyweight into the centerpiece of her own unintended comedy sketch. And the laughter wasn't just background noise. It was a moment of realization. For many watching, it felt like a sign that the era when Hillary could command universal or might be slipping into the rearview mirror. Because if a comedic jab leaves you looking like yesterday's leftovers, staying relevant in today's cutthroat world becomes a much tougher climb. Greg's performance didn't just roast her, it cracked the long-standing illusion that she remained untouchable. Once that veneer fractured, what was left was the uncomfortable contrast between Hillary's carefully curated seriousness and a moment where humor cut right through it. Her image, usually so controlled, fell apart faster than a doomed Broadway show closing on opening night.
Hitting the fan. You just heard Bret Baier on the latest news, but will it make a difference? What if the emails found on Weiner's laptop did come from Hillary's server? And what if there were new discoveries that actually had classified info? One of Baier's sources claims that Hill's server had been hacked, as he said before, with information stolen by at least 5 foreign intel agencies. If this is true, how will Hillary beat this rap? With this,
Greg spotted her weak spot instantly, like a cat that somehow finds the one fragile object in the room just to knock it over. He didn't just poke at her political record, he went straight for the aura she's carried for decades. That outdated, locked in the 90s confidence that insists she's still untouchable, and watching her reaction? Absolutely priceless. It was like someone who clicked into the wrong video call but refuses to admit it, sitting stiffly, pretending everything is perfectly fine while the awkwardness grows by the second. Her responses were exactly what anyone familiar with her style would expect. When she's under pressure, the playbook never changes. Ignore, deflect, repeat the same lines, and hope the crowd gets bored. But comedy doesn't wait for spin. It hits fast, and Greg's punchlines were sharper and far funnier than any campaign critique ever drafted. Hillary's blend of confidence and fragility was on full display. She wanted to project strength, but every tiny glare, every stiffened expression gave away more than she intended. Greg amplified it, highlighting not just the politician but the person struggling with the very idea of losing. Each of his lines reminded the audience of her long, uphill fight to stay relevant. And every smirk from Greg underscored the same point. No matter how many times she attempts a comeback, it always seems to end the same way, another awkward encore in the never-ending Clinton saga.
she must be working for Trump. Seriously, that is so bad it could turn Chelsea Clinton into a never Hillary. And sorry, Lena, the gender card has been so played out, it's falling on deaf, pierced ears. Look, if you already hate Hillary, this new stuff isn't going to change a thing. And if you already hate Trump, this isn't going to make you love him. Battle lines are drawn. Nothing sticks. But it seems like the truth is now the bull in Hillary's china shop. Remember, Nixon was pretty cocky, too, up until he wasn't. Events are now
And here's the kicker. The crowd laughed even harder because hidden inside Greg's jokes was a harsh truth. Hillary is still trying to play a game that ended years ago. She's the political equivalent of a MySpace page, once iconic, now painfully outdated. Sure, she can pretend she's still relevant, but the internet never forgets. Greg made sure no one did. He flashed those metaphorical receipts like a magician pulling endless scarves from a hat. Her reaction? Classic Hillary. No humor, no grace, no willingness to laugh at herself. Greg thrived on it. Every flicker of annoyance became fuel, and every smirk made his next line hit even harder. It turned into a masterclass in comedy, sharp, relentless, and brutally entertaining. Because here's the truth, Hillary has always seen herself as the main character in history's grand narrative. But in Greg's arena, she was recast as comic relief, and the audience couldn't get enough. Watching power trip over its own ego? That was the show everyone wanted front row seats to.
Policy class, change minds that she's a horse's ass. This week, Columbia University shared a video promoting a new course that's co-taught by Hillary Clinton. Believe me, no one's more thrilled to have Hillary out of the house than Bill. Speaking of Bill, if you're a lady who is a solid 8 or above, he'll tutor you for free. The course he's teaching, how to fit snugly under my...
The audience devoured every single second. There's something irresistibly satisfying about watching someone who's built an entire image around control suddenly get swept away by a tidal wave of laughter. The internet did what it does best. It exploded. Memes, clips, and remixes flooded timelines within hours, turning the moment into viral gold. Suddenly, Hillary wasn't trending for politics or speeches. She was trending because Greg had turned her into a live-action parody. And once the memes hit, there was no escape. Lately, she's been testing the waters again, sneaking back into politics like someone trying to crash a party long after the invite expired. But Greg slammed the door with a grin, practically saying, "The party's over." It wasn't just humor. It was an eviction notice from the cultural stage. The question everyone's asking, why is she still trying? The world has moved on. The audience has moved on. Yet she keeps reappearing, like an app that refuses to uninstall. Greg captured that national sigh of exhaustion, the collective sentiment of, "We've heard enough."
She wasn't elected. Now Hillary's class gets rejected. True, even students on the left give Professor Clinton an F. Students in Hillary Clinton's new class says it sucks. Even more than an intern who... you know where this is going. But it's the smartest realization on campus since someone realized you could put vodka up your butt. Thanks, Shannon. Earlier this year, Bill's worser half accepted a professorship at Columbia teaching public affairs. Meanwhile, Bill did offer to tutor some of the female students, but Columbia hasn't.
The destruction was complete, not because Greg argued better, but because he was funnier, sharper, and utterly unstoppable. This wasn't a debate, it was a knockout delivered through laughter. Greg reminded everyone that power only lasts as long as people take you seriously. Once they start laughing, that power evaporates. Hillary's entire image depends on seriousness, authority, and the illusion of inevitability. But Greg popped that bubble like a balloon at a kid's party, leaving only echoes of laughter bouncing off what was once her untouchable reputation. Here's the hard truth. You can recover from scandal, even defeat, but you can't recover from becoming a joke. Once the laughter starts, it keeps echoing. Comedy is the great equalizer. No one escapes it. And those who can't laugh at themselves become the punchline. Hillary happened to be the latest and loudest reminder that once the crowd is laughing at you instead of listening, the game is already over.
Next generation on everything from fraudulent land deals to unflattering pantsuits. Meanwhile, students were promised empowering lessons by one of America's biggest losers. After all, who else can teach them how to delete emails and destroy evidence, while also learning how to destroy Libya? But turns out the class is just a bunch of ego-worshipping drivel in front of an audience, unlike her show on Apple TV, which was ego-worshipping drivel without an audience. One disappointed student described her first day as a swarm of several hundred people, a sea of cameras, Secret Service personnel. Sounds like every time Joe makes it.
But here's the final twist. Deep down, Hillary probably thought she could handle it. After all, she's faced scandals, investigations, and some of the toughest critics in the world. Surely, one late-night comedian couldn't shake her, right? That's exactly where she went wrong. She underestimated the unstoppable force of comedy. She stepped in expecting a typical political moment she could control, pivot, and spin her way out of. But instead, she walked straight into a buzzsaw of sarcasm, coming out with nothing but bruises and viral memes. Meanwhile, Greg Gutfeld walked away grinning, the undisputed victor of a battle Hillary never should have fought. He didn't just roast her that night. He proved a timeless truth. Politics may fade, power may crumble, but comedy never dies. And now, Hillary Clinton isn't just a politician. She's a punchline history won't forget.